Hello and welcome to Recently Seen. Today we see what happens when Marvel's prodigal and arguably most iconic son returns to his home company in his first solo Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. I am of course talking about Spider-Man Homecoming. After aiding Iron Man's side of the conflict in Captain America Civil War, Peter Parker spends his time in New York doing small-time superheroics, all while dreaming of doing something bigger and joining the Avengers, despite Tony Stark's insistence that he should remain grounded for now. However, when he comes across a weapons dealer named Adrian Toomes, known to comic book fans as the Vulture, who is gathering scrap from various Avengers battles and selling it as high-tech weaponry to criminals, he decides to take the operation down himself to prove his worth. All while, in good Spider-Man tradition, trying to balance his superheroics with his family and school life. Right from the get-go, Spider-Man Homecoming oozes charm, and it's largely thanks to Tom Holland's performance. I'm personally in the camp that believed that Tobey Maguire was a great Peter Parker but a mediocre Spider-Man, and vice versa with Andrew Garfield, but Tom Holland manages to capture both the bright and friendly teenager Peter Parker and the superhero Spider-Man, who happens to also technically be a bright and friendly teenager. Spider-Man is at his funniest, his most flexible, his most creative with his powers, and his most determined, and it is a joy to watch. On the other side of the conflict, there's Michael Keaton as the Vulture, who delivers a hell of a performance outside of just adhering to the joke of being cast as a bird-themed super being. The Vulture is a fair bit different from his comic book counterpart, that is true, but here he's threatening, he's engaging, he's excellent to look at, and his motivations and schemes are very thematically appropriate, making him a great foil for Peter in the movie's overall themes of remaining grounded. Finally, one of the movie's main strengths is that it just wastes no time. At 2 hours and 20 minutes, it manages to not waste one of those minutes on nothing, as everything is either funny, action-packed, or furthering the story or one of its characters in big or small ways. Now granted, some of the high school stuff may come across as a little bit stock in places, but it's done with a lot of warmth and sincerity, and the superheroics are as high-flying as ever, allowing Spider-Man to truly shine. To be honest, very little. At worst, I can point to some treatments of characters from the comics being rather head-scratching, but they don't really feel enough of the movie to hamper the overall experience, I feel. Purists are likely going to be upset at these, and like I said, some of them even I find a little odd, but with maybe one exception, they all work fairly well within the movie itself. And like I said, this alternate take on the Vulture really works very well. And for all the praise I gave the movie's superheroics, they do kind of lose their momentum in the final confrontation. It's far from boring or anticlimactic or anything of the sort, but the situation doesn't really allow Spider-Man to do the amazing things we've watched him do throughout the movie. This does help prove his worth as a superhero, but it does ultimately mean that the confrontation is just that slight bit less engaging than the rest of the movie has been. Which still leaves it pretty engaging. With risk of getting internet nostalgia crucified, I'd say this is at least on par with, if not outright superior to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, which, while great, I feel suffers from an overuse of mid-2000s melodramatic narrative techniques just to keep reminding you how meaningful it's supposed to be. Spider-Man Homecoming wears its heart on its sleeve as a colorful everyman superhero story that brings Peter Parker back to basics after a lot of strange and convoluted path-taking in the earlier movies. By opting to not tell the origin story yet again, and instead focusing on the balancing act between Peter Parker's lifestyles, this manages to be the first Spider-Man movie where I felt like responsibility was a theme rather than just a motto that had to be said at some point during the movie. As far as I'm concerned, this is as close to a perfect Spider-Man experience as we can get, and one that is going to be a treat to any Spider fan. That's it for now, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Hello and thanks for watching my Spider-Man Homecoming review. If you liked it, please press the like button and leave me a comment. And if you want to see more like this, as well as many other videos on movies, games, cartoons and more, please subscribe to my channel and consider supporting me on Patreon, which you can find a link for in the description along with links to all of my various social media sites. Thanks again for watching and see you later!